Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us again. It's now time for our daily English news edition, weekdays at 6 p.m. In a media statement today, the Democratic chairman Luzim Basha gave some details on the National Bureau of Investigation and how it will function. He says that the Bureau will be an independent investigative structure under the authority and supervision of the Prosecutor General. According to Basha, the Bureau will function like the judicial police. He said, "I think that there needs to be transparency concerning the draft because it is a draft on which the opposition has agreed. The current project for the National Bureau of Investigation is not the same as what Eddie Rama wanted. He wanted to politically control the most important institution in the fight against crime and corruption. The Bureau cannot function under the supervision of the Ministry of Interior." Rama's model was also rejected by the Constitutional Court. Essentially, the name of the Bureau is the same, but this is not the same project, said Mr. Basha. He went on to say that the draft on the Bureau does not need to wait for the justice reform, as all sides have agreed on it, and it does not need constitutional changes. He accused the Prime Minister of hampering the process out of fear of being investigated. "The problem is Eddie Rama," he said. "He is afraid of the investigation of corruption in the high levels of the state. It is absurd to wait any longer, since we have reached an agreement. The Bureau does not require constitutional changes. It can be implemented as it is, according to the suggestions of the U.S. experts and according to the Venice recommendations. For this reason, I reiterate the willingness of the opposition to vote on the draft in Parliament in order to pave the way for the establishment of the Bureau," said Mr. Basha. Ora News has learned that the draft on which both parties have agreed provides that the Bureau will be under the supervision of both the Prosecutor General and the Ministry of Interior. The Chief Prosecutor of the Bureau is expected to be selected by the Minister of Interior with the final consent of the Prosecutor General. The Administrative Director will be appointed by the Minister of Internal Affairs. The Commission for Decriminalization has begun working on drafting the bylaws that will make the new law applicable. For this process, the Commission members will be making use of the best legal practices of the U.S. experts. At the Albanian Parliament building today, the U.S. ambassador and experts gave a presentation on the best practices used by the U.S. to investigate government officials and political leaders. The media was not allowed in the event, but the American Embassy issued the following statement about the meeting. "The U.S. technical experts supporting the implementation of the decriminalization law delivered a presentation today at the Albanian Parliament on the best practices used by the U.S. for investigating the backgrounds of government officials and political leaders. The presentation was organized by the U.S. Embassy in support of Albania's efforts to implement the recently passed decriminalization law. The Embassy welcomes the efforts of Parliament to develop bylaws for this important law and strongly supports its full implementation." After the meeting, the Democratic MP Oerd Bulukbashi announced that the preparation of the bylaws should be concluded within 2 months. The Socialist MP Taulant Balla added that intensive work is being done with the help of the experts. He said that the draft should be concluded by the middle of March and ready to be submitted to Parliament. The lawyers of Shkodra and Fier will be boycotting all judicial processes on Monday in protest against the increase of mandatory insurance contributions. They claim that the mandatory fees of 26,000 lek are simply too much to pay, and they are appealing the law to the Constitutional Court. The General Secretary of the Shkodra Chamber of Lawyers made the following statement. "The law will be appealed to the Constitutional Court. We are being forced to pay 26,000 lek for insurance. This is too much, unaffordable for 98% of the lawyers, since we have other obligations that we must pay." The lawyers of Fier have also gathered together to discuss the government's amendments. They have announced that they too are ready to join in Monday's boycott of the court cases. The chairman of the chamber in Fier had this to say. "The board of the National Chamber of Lawyers has appealed the decision of the Council of Ministers to the Constitutional Court. It is an unaffordable fee, considering the current circumstances and the fact that the country is in difficult economic situation. On Monday, lawyers from all over the country will boycott the court sessions in a sign of protest against the mandatory insurance contributions." The Democratic Party has announced that they are officially supporting the protest on February 8th by the lawyers who are against the mandatory increase of insurance fees. In a media outlet from the Democratic Party headquarters, the MP Edward Halimi said that the obligatory insurance payments for the free professions have been quadrupled. He announced, "The Democratic Party considers the protest of the lawyers to be a fair one and considers their request to be legal and constitutional. The decision of the government to appoint a minimum wage for lawyers causes an increase in insurance fees, which is arbitrary, hostile, and unconstitutional. This is destructive for lawyers, especially for those who are new to the profession. It makes it difficult for them to practice their profession." The Democratic Party supports the lawyers' protest and encourages them to defend their constitutional rights. "We encourage them to use civil disobedience against this government and the Prime Minister who does not listen to their concerns," said Halimi. Prime Minister Rama was in Berat today holding a meeting with the Socialist Party membership. The party chairman promised a reformation of both the party and the country and announced that he is not afraid of the cost of the reforms, which are long overdue. He said, "After 2.5 years of governance, we have many reasons to invite people to join the Socialist Party, to strengthen it, and to increase the transformative capacity of the government and society through the Socialist Party," said Mr. Rama. He explained that the new structures of the Socialist Party will be established through a combined process of selecting the delegates of the Congress and selecting the directors of the municipality branches. He expressed the belief that the new members will bring the party closer to the citizens, and he announced the goal of doubling the membership by the 25th anniversary of the party. The Minister of Social Welfare also spoke at the gathering. "We have many reasons to go into the party Congress more proud than ever of the reforms we have made, and of course of our leader, Rama," he said. The Association of Honorary Consuls in Albania have held their first meeting for the year. The chairman, Ulian Droci, announced that the targets of the association were met in 2015 and that 2016 will be a year for extending their role in diplomacy. It is now 2 years since the association was established, and they are heightening their expectations and their diplomatic mission. In order to meet this challenge, the consuls gathered to lay the foundation for an even more active year. Chairman Ndroci praised the work of all the consuls and thanked them for their efforts in meeting the targets of the association. He stressed the need to increase the contributions of the honorary consuls even further. Vice President Belma Cela asked the consuls to increase their commitment and take their work to a new level, and the dean of the association expressed his appreciation for the work that the consuls have already accomplished. At the beginning of this year, 5 honorary consuls representing 5 countries joined the association. This year, the association will focus on increasing their role in diplomacy, especially economic diplomacy. They will work to strengthen the cultural exchange between Albania and the countries they represent. Furthermore, they will increase their support for the communities in need. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all of our news for this evening. We will be back at the same time tomorrow with more translated news in English. Thanks. Have a great night.